Hello and welcome. So I had a question this week on Instagram which was to do with elbow rotation on the bow arm, and I wanted to provide some more information on this and give a little bit more detail on how to improve this for the person that asked the question, and then also to you guys as a general piece of information that hopefully can help if you're having the same issue as well. So let's look at the question, and this was saying that basically I've been practicing the elbow rotation on my bow arm and I can do the elbow rotation fine without any bow or anything, just with it, just like this. I can do the elbow rotation without touching my hand against the wall anymore. So that's really great progress from having to touch the wall or touching a post to start with, and now they can do it fine. But when they then do it with their bow, which is a 66-inch 24-pound bow, when they do the elbow rotation, they really have to force the rotation to get it, and then when they do force it, it hurts the shoulder and it feels kind of painful. So this is what I wanted to kind of elaborate a bit more on and help identify why it's painful, and then train to improve the elbow rotation and remove the pain. So let's get started with the kind of main causes of this, and then we'll look at the solutions and how to train and improve this. Before we get started, there are two other things that I forgot they mentioned in the question, and that was that when they do force the rotation, the shoulder also raises up, as well as being a little bit more painful. And then it's really hard to get the alignment of the shoulders too. So those are two crucial parts of information as well. Now to start with, let's look at some classic examples of why it will be hard to get the elbow rotation, and also why it might hurt the shoulder when you do this, because hopefully this will help identify why that was happening, and then also help some other people who are having a similar issue. So the first cause of why the elbow rotation might be hard, and I'll just get my bow here, is that when you're putting your hand in the grip, if your hand is too far round this way, then it can be really hard to get the elbow rotation, because the bottom part of your hand here, if it's too far round, that can compromise the line of the bones in the arm and make it really hard to get the elbow rotation here, because you're kind of ramming this part of the hand into the grip, and then the elbow is facing up, as you can see, and it's really hard to rotate it. When you rotate it, it's important to then, as you can see, this rotates the hand, but having the hand at an angle, say like this, is much easier, as you can see here, to rotate and then unrotate without moving the hand too much. If I've got the hand in the grip like this, with this two rotated over, this is touching the grip in this example here, the bone at the bottom part of the hand here, that is going to hit against the grip, or kind of just secure against the grip, sorry, and then it's going to make it hard to rotate the elbow because it's going to be facing up, and the alignment of the bones in the arm isn't good. So if that's the case, if your hand is too far round, then that can make it really hard to rotate the elbow, and it can make it painful to rotate, as was mentioned in the question. So that's the first thing to check here. And for correct technique on the bow hand, you can look at the bow hand section of the website, and I'll put a link to that below, and that will provide some good information on how to get this, what it should look like, how to position the bow hand so that it's in the correct place, and more technical information about that. So that's the first thing to check. And the second thing to check is basically regarding strength, and this can be specific strength or general strength, and we'll start with general strength. So if you're generally overbowed, if you're not strong enough for your bow, that will make it hard from the get-go to rotate the elbow and have good alignment and good elbow positioning here, and kind of bow arm positioning and everything like that. So that's the first thing here. And then the second thing is specific strength around the left shoulder. If your muscles of the triceps and the deltoid and around the serratus and that area aren't strong enough on your bow arm, then it'll be really hard to get the correct position, have the correct elbow rotation, maintain this, keep the alignment. All these things will be much harder. So strength is the second main issue here. And then the third issue is obviously technique, general technique, that is. So in a previous example, in a previous video that I talked about why you should work on the cause of the problem rather than the symptoms. So I'll link that video up there, and basically if you look at this video, and in the video you can see the example that I give with the posture that's compromised and the alignment is really out of line. In this example, and I'll put the picture here so you can see it here, in this example you can see the alignment is compromised, and crucially the bow arm elbow is facing up. If you just try, this was me in this example, if I just tried at that moment to increase the rotation of the elbow, and I remember because this is something I was working on, it was very hard. It was kind of painful to rotate the elbow, and it wasn't really possible because there were a lot of other things that were compromised in the shot. General strength, posture was bad, alignment wasn't there, bow hand is too far over into the grip, as you can see, which is the kind of classic thing I mentioned before. So all these kind of key things compound over each other and mean that it would be really hard and almost painful to rotate the elbow joint. So make sure that you identify where you are in your technique and whether you can do that properly. You need to make sure that your posture is good and your alignment, you understand how to get your alignment and improve that from there. Now in the question they said that doing the elbow rotation actually makes the alignment worse, and this is an indicator that this could be strength related too. So notice that there wasn't a problem with the alignment and the elbow rotation when they did this without the bow, but now they've got the bow, then it's much harder. And especially the fact that they said the bow shoulder was raising up can be a really good indicator that just the mass weight of the bow is maybe too much for them, and then combining that with the draw weight as well is making it too hard for the shoulder. So there are some ways to improve this and work on this so that you learn the correct technique and improve your strength, and I'll just go over those now too. Now some of the best ways to work on this part of the shot are simple exercises to start with, and then increasing these to more specific weight-based exercises. So some of the most simple exercises to start with for the bow arm side, and you can also do these for the draw arm side as well, and they're beneficial for both sides, are planks. So what I mean by that is side planks. So I'll put some examples above here. So side planks, straight arm side planks where you're then moving one of the legs up and down, and stuff like that can really help just the general overall bow arm stability. And also when you're doing these planks, especially so for the straight arm planks, you can then make sure to have the elbow rotation when you're doing them. There's no point doing them and having the elbow rotation facing the wrong way. You need to practice the plank with the correct elbow rotation, and then when you go to shoot, you can then use this and you've trained it a bit more. And these are really good exercises to improve this strength. Now another exercise, once you've progressed a little bit on from this, is weight-based exercises such as crucifix holds, which are just, you get dumbbells in your arms and then you just raise the the dumbbells to your side, and this is testing the muscles in your serratus, your triceps, your deltoids and everything around the shoulder. And these are really good exercises to develop this general strength. And there are a lot of other exercises as well, and I'll just put a couple of these up here and here, and these are great for improving this area of your kind of strength and improving this area of your shot. Now to start with, I would recommend for this archer to work on those exercises and generally start improving this strength and work on improving this elbow rotation. I would also recommend to just make sure that the technical areas I said about are good and they're correct and you're able to get this technique. And then I'd also just give a little bit more information now to clarify a couple of things about the elbow rotation. So when it comes to the elbow rotation, there's a common misconception here, and that is that the shoulder shouldn't move at all. In terms of the elbow joint should rotate, but there should be absolutely no movement from the shoulder. So if I put my arm out here, and you can see the elbow is rotated upwards like that, it's pointing to the ceiling. If I then rotate my elbow joint like that, you can see that the muscles around the shoulder here, they do actually rotate. You can see that there's a slight movement here in terms of the shoulder muscles, and that's absolutely fine. What there isn't happening is there is no rolling of the shoulder. That is the crucial thing that you do not want. You do not want to come up and rotate the elbow and roll the shoulder. That's just like a no-go, absolutely not. So that will just lead to injury and is not good for your technique and overall performance. So you want to keep the shoulder blades controlled and against the rib cage, and then you want to make sure that when you rotate the elbow like this, movement here is fine, but the shoulder stays neutral. It doesn't roll over like this. It doesn't scrunch the upper traps, and there's just some movement here, which is fine. And then as you can see, if I move over a bit, you can see that the bow arm is maintaining in the same position from there to there, and it's exactly the same. So that's the key thing here, is Don't try and stop every single part of movement in the shoulder, as long as the shoulder blade is staying against the rib cage and is staying low, and you're not rolling the shoulder joint and moving the shoulder joint. And that's a key thing that a lot of people kind of get, mistake the incorrect method. So when you're actually doing this for the first time, this is another common question, is that elbow rotation is really hard. Should it be hard? It's almost really physically challenging, and people feel like it's not correct because it's too challenging. But the truth is, when you start doing it, it is hard. It is hard to rotate the elbow. It's physically demanding, and that's why a lot of people don't do it, because it's hard to train the muscles of your arm to be able to cope and to be able to rotate and keep that there. So yes, it will be hard to start with in terms of physically fatiguing. There should never be any pain. If there's pain, then you should stop and give yourself a bit of a rest and identify why there's pain before you move on. But if it's just physically demanding, physically fatiguing, and you can feel it's difficult, that's fine. You should expect that. And this will typically be around the muscles of the lower forearm here, and also just in the triceps as well, because when you rotate the elbow here, you'll engage the triceps more, and that will make it more fatiguing. So expect, when you start to do this, as I said, fatigue around the muscles of the forearm here, and then also maybe the next day you might feel a little bit achy there, and maybe you might feel a bit achy kind of under the arm area where the serratus is, and then also the triceps as well, maybe a little bit of deltoid, but there shouldn't be too much ache there. But yes, it will be physically hard. There should never be pain. There should be no rolling of the shoulder joint, and there should definitely never be any pinching or kind of nerve pain or anything like that. So those are kind of some key areas there. So I hope that's provided a good overview for you guys of the elbow rotation, and I hope that's provided a good answer to the person who asked that question. Let me know in the comments below how you've found this will help your elbow rotation, and if this has changed how you think about the elbow rotation, and whether you're going to change anything in your shot to help this. And as always, be sure to smash that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And thank you for watching again, and I'll see you in the next video.